And so would you say that a child's emotional and social needs are just as important, if not even maybe more important than the academic needs of the child?
They're, in school and in life in general, I'd rather have a child who had better emotional intelligence than intellectual intelligence. But the problem with schools nowadays, they're so bent on making sure that the child stays on age and grid level and working on pure academics as opposed to helping them with their development, which often is why I tell parents, you know what point is it that your child is learning to read and write when they don't understand what they're doing? Keep them at home, teach them comprehension, logic, reasoning, critical thinking, problem solving, and the language of human emotion in the construct of your home, or if you're in a cooperative homeschooling environment, which often works a lot better, so that way you can use people who truly understand your position. Because in deference to the schools, they have way too many students, far few teachers, and let alone fewer teachers who really understand children with developmental traumas. And I've brought it up to many of them often about the concept of trauma in schools. And they say, listen, we just don't have the time or effort to deal with that. That's a therapy issue.
And so I want to talk about homeschooling in a minute, but I want to stay on the schools themselves because when they do deal with it, let's talk about the ways that the schools traditionally have dealt with children like this, because they've seen it in a behavioral sense. That the disciplinary actions that are being taken, the punishment that is given, the isolative type of measures. Speak to us a little bit more about that, and then really I think the damage that that is also doing to perpetuate this cycle with our kids in the academic environment.
I see things happening in the school with, I call them the new kids on the block, the kids that enter the school. The first one is that no one pays attention to them. They let them do whatever they want because they're enamored by this child and they want to let them assimilate and try to make up for all of their developmental disabilities and all the things they miss. So they let them slide through the system. I've lost count of how many kids have slid through the system and haven't learned anything, and they get A's on their report card. They know nothing, but the teacher said they're doing just fine. So that's the first group. The second group is the ones who hit the ground running and really act up. What they do right away, they call the parents and say, come get them. They put them out of school. They say they're not ready, they're not ready, they're not ready. The parents say, but I'm a working parent. I have to go to school. I need some help. But they're not ready, they're disruptive, they hit the teacher, they bit a student, they have to come and pick them up. And I tell them, well, somebody better teach the child then if they're not ready. But unfortunately, the schools dismiss them, especially if they're aggressive or sexualized children. The third area is the child, what I call the mediocre learner. They're doing just enough to get by, and they wind up melting in the woodwork, and the parents are happy, and the school is happy, and the child is in school, kind of marginally learning, but is kind of at another orphanage. They're just getting along, they're just getting by, and they're really not learning anything. And then when parents go for a second opinion and they realize how far behind the child is, then they start asking questions like, how did they get A's then? And it eventually will come out in apathy. The child will then say, you know what, I just don't care about school, I don't want to do any more, and then usually by high school they're done.